Hello, good evening, and welcome to Final Boss Fight. My name is Jeff, and I'm joined tonight by my very good friend John.
Hello.
And nobody else. There is nobody else here at all. There is nothing else behind me. There is nothing here.
Or up on the big screen.
I don't know what you're talking about. We are here to again do something slightly different. As before, we've done some choose your own adventures. I thought this time I would take control of the choose your own adventure and put John through one of these decision making.
And really, I get to choose. So
you get to choose the adventure, yes, and I get to read the wonderful or otherwise things that happen as a result of your choice. So tonight we are looking at Call of Cthulhu. This is from the Call of Cthulhu starter set. This is the Alone Against the Flames solo introductory adventure in Call of Cthulhu. How are you feeling, John? You feeling confident? How do you think it's going to go?
I'm just trying to work out which way I have to. There we go. I mean, if he gets involved, no.
Who knows? You may survive and or remain sane. We'll find out.
Once again. No.
So, John, tell us about the character you'll be playing tonight. This normally includes a quick start rules, but in order to speed things along, we've included a pre-generated investigator. John, who are you playing tonight?
I'm going to be playing, really, once you read out all of the pre-generated characters, there was only one that I could possibly pick. Dr. Nevada Jones. Although I get the feeling, having read through what little information there is on the character sheet, with the birthplace of Winnipeg, Canada, I feel like I need to change it to, like, somewhere in Canada Jones.
It says he was born. Well, we can probably say these were adventures that have been imported from other modules, so they're probably not strictly speaking suitable for this one. But really, we just need the skills and the dice rolls, so we can make do. I think we can make do with this. I think this is something we can make do with. Anyway, shall we begin?
Well, if you'll permit me,
of course,
which I feel won't inhibit the game too much. This is no longer Dr. Nevada Jones. This is Dr. Manitoba Jones.
Dr. Manitoba Jones,
which is where Winnipeg is.
That is absolutely fine. Yes, I have absolutely no issues with that. I don't know if it will help him very much, but we'll find out how it goes. So
probably not in any way, shape, or form. But I feel better now.
We may have to bend some of these details slightly to fit, but I think we can make do. So, Alone Against the Flames, a solo introductory adventure. Are you ready to begin?
I say no. We all just go home, right?
Tough.
Oh.
The sun is high in the sky, a merciless ball of heat, which I'm sure none of us know what that feels like.
Right about now. Yeah.
Yeah. We can relate to this character. It's great.
Not this week, but recently.
You feel scorched by the time you reach the bus halt in front of Osborne's drugstore. It's a relief to put down your heavy cases and take off your hat. He's got a hat. This is great. He's got a hat.
I have a hat.
Take off your hat for a moment.
What time period is this one? Are we 1920s?
1920s. It's very traditional 1920s, yep.
Okay. Just so I know what sort of a hat and,
I imagine it'd be the
setting we're in.
The hat that's in his picture, to be honest.
Oh, it's the iconic hat, obviously.
Yes, yeah. Fedora. You fan your face. It has been a long summer here in your hometown.
Winnipeg, Canada.
And yet a curiously empty one. You look across the street.
No comment. I've never been to Winnipeg, Canada.
Oh no, this is going to get very twisted now. So you look across the street at the grubby butcher's shop, the grocer's with its faded awning, and the shabby tobacconist. Mistrustful faces glare at you as they pass, eyeing your clothes and luggage. It was your parents' choice to live here, not yours. You were happy down south as a child, among Providence's white-walled houses and leafy churchyards. I think we're going to have to bend some geography a bit here, so we're going to wibbly-wobbly bend some geography a bit. Perhaps this new job in Arkham will supply the change you need. Yet, everybody you know... Arkham, Canada. Yet, everybody you know in the world lives here. You know nobody in Arkham. Not one soul. You ask yourself one last time if you're doing the right thing.
Am I doing the right thing?
The answer is here. None of your supposed friends have come to see you off. I guess that means the answer is not here, then.
Oh, well. Fuck all of y'all. I'm going to Arkham.
You are alone. Whatever challenges lie in Arkham, it will be a new life and a brave one. A small grey motor coach approaches and rattles to a stop. You put your hat back on and pick up your cases. And you go to number 263.
It's a weird place to go on the bus.
I know, yes. Two young men with the bus is number 263. It's the number 263 bus, yeah.
To Arkham.
Winnipeg to Arkham, yes.
It's a long old bus ride.
I know, right? Two young men with sullen expressions alight from the coach. One looks you up and down before heading away. The driver also steps down, glancing at you, crossing the road to visit the tobacconist. When he returns, he is rolling a cigarette between his yellowed fingers. He gives it a final twist and examines you as he reaches for his matchbox. He is a thin man in his 50s, dressed in a stained shirt with a bus company emblem, yet his eyes are sharp in their dark sockets. Where to? You show him your ticket for Ossipee. From there you will connect to Rochester and Portsmouth before the coastal line to Newburyport and finally Arkham. You should be able to afford a rail ticket for at least some of the way, otherwise this will be the first of many long bus trips. I mean, if you're going from Canada to New England, that is going to be the first of many long bus trips.
Very, very long bus trips. Very, very long train trips.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. The driver scratches the match and lights his cigarette. The end flares as he takes a draw. Then he exhales and gestures to the back of the coach. Luggage racks up there. 8. The driver smokes and watches as you drag your cases to the back of the motor coach. The rack is set inconveniently high on the vehicle. You get a grip on the heavier case. If your size is 40, go to 23. If your size is higher than this, go to 38. What is your size?
It is 40.
Go to 23. You struggle for a few seconds before the driver comes up beside you and lends a hand, still puffing on his cigarette. Heavy bags for a small one, he remarks. You judge it best to respond with a simple thanks. Go to 233.
I mean, that's really not how other Joneses might respond, but I guess Manitoba is slightly more level-headed.
He is, yes. Also, with the size of 40, he's a fairly scrawny guy by the looks of it. The driver flicks his cigarette into the gutter and steps into the motor coach. Its engine coughs into life. You board, grateful that you'll be the only passenger for the initial part of your trip at least. With mixed emotions, you watch from the window as the tired avenues of your old home slip behind you, receding into the distance. For a few minutes, you can still see the church spire over the brow of a low hill. Then the road dips and it, too, is gone. Arkham is your new home. You will travel there and make a new start. The coach putters through the countryside. At first the interior is stifling and your stomach lurches with every bend in the road. However, the driver opens his window and by switching seats you find a spot where the breeze hits your face. You soon relax into the journey, observing the quaint little hamlets that the coach serves. A heavy-set woman boards at one settlement and gives you a polite nod. He gets off at the next one. The road rises a little, passing cornfields and orchards. The leaves are turning and the trees are alive with glorious reds and golds. You have just begun to doze when the driver takes a tight bend at speed.
Yeah.
I would like you to make a dexterity roll.
Just a regular roll.
Just a regular. It'll tell you what the result is if it's regular or hard or extreme. So just dexterity roll. Ooh.
Failure.
Failed. A desperate yell awakens you. You feel yourself slide from the seat as the driver spins the wheel and the motor coach plunges off the road. Too late, you reach for the seat in front. You fall into the aisle and your ribs crash against the side of the seat opposite. Breath rushes out of you. The coach stops with a thump. Your driver leaps from his seat into the road. As you sprawl dizzy in the aisle, you hear a string of incendiary curses. The driver climbs back into the cab and sees you on the floor. He looks concerned and assists you back into your seat. You see what has happened now. A Fordson tractor has stopped in the road and he had to swerve to avoid the steel obstacle. Sorry, he says. All them fields and he has to pick the road to park. You all right? You don't think anything's broken, but you have a colourful bruise for the next few days. He backs the coach up a little and threads it around the tractor, glaring at the farmer. You lost 1 hit point in the accident.
Ow.
Are you trying to ow? Ow?
Ow. How do I lose hit points, Jeff? Because both of these fields aren't changing.
That is true. If you tick up the top, there's an edit mode at the top. Just do it from there.
That's weird.
That is a bit weird. I'm not quite sure, unless there is a way to damage properly. But yeah, we'll go with that for now. I'm sure it won't come up at all. You resume your journey, nursing your bruise and the lack of proper applicable situational damage. The driver takes the curves with more caution than before. He glances over his shoulder at you a couple of times. Sorry about before, he says. That fellow was dumber than a hog. I'm Silas. What's your name?
Manitoba.
That's in Winnipeg, isn't it?
Winnipeg's in Manitoba.
I never did pay much attention to geography when I was at school. That's why I became a bus driver.
Really bad choice of professions. I really feel you need geography for bus driving.
I just go along the road. I imagine the road knows where it's going.
I'm never getting to work.
The accident was at least as much Silas's fault as the farmer's, but it doesn't seem shrewd to antagonize the man while he is driving you through the middle of nowhere. The coach turns onto a narrower road, which weaves uphill through woodland. Silas becomes chatty. Going to Arkham, hey? Can't say I ever heard of the place. Went to Boston once, didn't like it. Too much hustle and bustle. You got family there? A special someone waiting? The afternoon is wearing on. You see no harm in confiding in Silas about your new life. Job, eh? What's your line?
Archaeology professor. At the University of Arkham, I guess.
That actually kind of fits. So, you explain you are joining the archaeology faculty at the renowned Miskatonic University.
There you go.
It's only a junior position with teaching and tutoring duties, but the institution is well regarded.
But I get my own whip.
You have to provide your own whip, I'm afraid.
Oh.
Who knows where the appointment might lead? A symposium, a visiting lectureship, even one of its world-spanning expeditions where you set up for that.
Yeah.
Silas wrinkles his nose. I had enough of book learning when I was a young'un. Still, I suppose it's well enough for those who likes it. You realise Silas hasn't made a stop since the incident with the tractor. The motor coach winds its way uphill. However, your thoughts are interrupted as the road crests the ridge and you are treated to a magnificent view of the vista below. A creek snakes through the valley, breaking the rich autumn palette of the tree line. In the distance, the white mountains rise into hazy cloud. There is no settlement, nor even a cabin, as far as the eye can see. Birds drift through the mid-treetops.
Boy, this Manitoba outback is amazing.
Birds drift through the treetops, and you can just make out what might be 2 white-tailed deer lingering by the water. Perhaps you're making a mistake by moving to the city. Could you survive on your own in this lush wilderness? Could you?
No.
Or could you?
Probably not.
I don't know. You got a whip. And you got a hat. That's all you need.
I mean, maybe. I've also set up my token now to have hit points and sanity
Nice.
points and magic points so that I can do the mathy things.
Nice. The motor coach rattles on through the hills, and Silas lapses into silence for once. The sky darkens behind you, pinks tinting the clouds as the sun descends. Finally, a welcome sight comes into view, a settlement on the crest of a hill. This doesn't look like the pictures you've seen of Ossipee, but perhaps you can persuade Silas to stop while you stretch your legs. Minutes later, a harsh stuttering from the engine interrupts your reverie. Silas frowns and rattles the gear stick. The motor coach falters in its ascent. Silas utters a curse you don't recognize and grinds his teeth, struggling at the wheel.
Oh, I guess we're stopping to stretch my legs then.
You seem to inch up the hill until you reach the first buildings, low dwellings constructed from a rough red stone. Silas wrestles the coach into a small bay off the road. He scrambles from his seat and makes for the engine compartment. You now have the option to make an auto check or a psychology check. Drive, auto, or psychology.
I'm going to go with a drive auto check because that is a minor bit better than Manitoba's psychology.
Very well.
I didn't.
No. Silas opens the engine compartment. Oh, there's a department of redundancy department here. Listen to this. Silas opens the engine compartment open.
Ah.
I'm going to say
He
Silas
really opens it.
Silas opens the engine compartment and sticks his head inside. He's very sensible, this guy. The hot metal, which he's just stuck his head into, pops and sizzles. He pokes at various components, then withdraws and wipes his brow, smearing it with dark grease. I ain't sure what's wrong. Might be the oil pressure. Might be something knocked off kilter when we took that spill. Can't
Might be the fact that the engine's on fire, apparently, and you've just stuck your head in it.
Can't do much until the engine cools down, neither. And with the light failing, I reckon he'll be here through the night. He wipes his hands on a rag. The shadows from your surroundings are already long, and the air is chilly. You feel stiff from the journey, and a night in this rickety coach sounds unappealing. Silas sees your dismay. This here's Emberhead. I can show you a picture of Emberhead. Miles from any place. I only come through twice a week, but the folks here are good people. May Ledbetter keeps a spare room. She'll look after you. Up that alley, turn right, first house on the left. He scratches his cheek, looks again into the engine compartment, and spits on the ground. Meet me back here at 8 in the morning, and we'll see how we stand. Have a choice. To look for May Ledbetter's house, to ask Silas where he will spend the night, or to challenge Silas about the breakdown.
I'm going to the town.
To look for May Ledbetter's house. Very well.
Yes.
You drag your cases between the sullen buildings. You feel surprisingly weary, considering you have spent all day sitting down. Silas's directions lead you to a modest dwelling with a slate roof. A nameplate reads Ledbetter, and underneath a sign in each copper plate reads Lodging Room. The lane around you is gloomy, but a lamp flickers in the window. A breeze chills your face. You're not about to begin your new life by sleeping in the street. You rap on the weather-beaten door.
Knock.
After a moment, you hear footsteps inside the house. A bolt is drawn back, and the wooden door swings open. A figure with loose curls and a rough-looking house dress peers at you. Her gaze takes you in your travelling suit and your cases. Her voice is a slight Irish note. Hello. I can't do Irish. Should I take it you're looking for a room for the night? You inquire
Yes.
as to her rates, suppressing a grimace. As far as you've seen, the offered village does not offer you many alternatives. Oh, you'll find them very reasonable, she says. You look tired. I'm May. Come inside and we'll talk over a cup of tea. The Ledbetter house feels cramped with a low ceiling and simple fittings, but it is well kept and a cheerful fire crackles in the grate. The aroma of tea is soothing and the cup warms your fingers. Have you come to Emberhead for the festival? Asks May. Do you wish to explain what happened with Silas in the coach, or do you wish to ask about the festival?
Let's ask about the festival.
Well now, I suppose the festival is about the only reason folks come to Emberhead. I thought you'd maybe come to study it or take photographs. Well, it's not tomorrow night, but the night after. I suppose it looks very strange to a passer-by. May tops up your tea. The spout chinks against your cup. We've got the beacon, you see. One night every year there's a torchlit procession and we light the beacon on the cliffs. You've never seen the like of it. They say it keeps the spirit of the village alive for another year. It's a celebration. A celebration. He throws off for a moment and blinks. But you didn't come here to listen to me blather, and you must be hungry. I can rush you up a bit of stew. How would that be?
Is it a celebration for the greater good?
That's not what you say. You apparently ask her about her rates. You just completely blanks over that. The fact that
I'd like to ask about your rates now. Fuck the stew.
May names a price so low you accept it without hesitation. The room is small,
50p, sure.
The room is small but comfortable, and the stew dark and hearty. You are getting a stew, whether you like it or not. After dinner,
I'll choose my own adventure, but the stew I just get.
After dinner, you have a couple of hours before your usual bedtime. Choose your own adventure: to talk to May some more, to walk around and get your bearings, or to turn in for an early night.
Let's walk around some more.
Ooh, I have a handy thing for this. Welcome to Emberhead.
I'm going to walk around that.
May's brow creases when you announce your intention to take a stroll. Mind how you go, she says. Emberhead's surrounded by cliffs, and we don't have your fancy street lamps here. Take the lantern and watch your step. This is very like traditional Call of Cthulhu, like walking through alleys with holding up a lantern, isn't it? Outside, you see what she means. The sky is overcast, and only a few glimmers of moonlight peek from the clouds. Without the heavy lantern, you'll be walking in near total darkness. You cannot hope to get an overview of the village tonight. May Street is a narrow passage hemmed in by squat, dark dwellings. At the end,
I don't have a lantern to hand.
No. just make the gesture of it. There we go.
I've got a bottle.
Yeah. A wide thoroughfare leads up to your right. A crude sign names it Silbury Street. To the left, a few yards away, your light picks up the crooked post of a simple fence, and beyond that, the ground drops away into darkness. You take a couple of steps closer, but you can see nothing. Air from below cools your face, then some instinct makes you look around. An ink-black figure stands in the road. Well, let's get the atmospheric thing going. An ink-black figure stands in the road, about 20 yards behind you. It stares at you. You form this sudden impression that it will run at you and throw you over the cliff edge. This is unsettling.
Yes, it is.
It is, yes, no joke.
Yes, that is unsettling. I agree with you, Book.
Seeing it has been spotted, the figure slips down an alley. To return to the safety of the Ledbetter house, or do you wish to confront the dark figure?
Well, I mean, it's heading away from the cliff face that it threatened to throw me off of with my apparent looking at it, so let's go and confront it.
As you approach,
I'm smart.
As you approach, the figure takes a pace back, then another. It slips down an alley between two buildings. To catch your target, you must make a track roll. Please
okay.
Make a track roll.
I mean, this is going to go well. I've only rolled an 80 and a 79 so far.
You're slowly climbing down.
Still not good enough.
Not bad, though.
I'm better than before, but my tracking skills, apparently, archaeology doesn't run away from you a lot. Which I guess makes sense, really. It's mostly dead.
Mm. The figure moves fast, with almost silent steps. You are hampered with a heavy lantern in an unfamiliar environment. You emerge from the alley into a dusty courtyard and can detect no sign of your quarry. You scratch around for a few minutes, but the figure has gone. It seems unwise to continue your stroll through unknown dark streets while this unthreatening presence is abroad. You head back to the Ledbetter house. May lets you in and settles back in her chair. Soon she begins to yawn. I believe I'll turn in. When would you like your breakfast?
Well, I meant to be meeting Silas at what, 8?
Yes.
Before that, then.
May nods and stands, and as she stands, you hear a clunk behind you. You look over your shoulder, but all you see is a wooden door securely closed. May tuts. The young lady of the house. She'll have been listening to us. Ruth, come and greet our guest. There is a short pause, and the door creaks open. 2 wide eyes peer at you from the gap between tousled hair and a rough nightgown. What do you say? The eyes blink. Pleased to meet you. Now get back to bed. The door closes again. My daughter Ruth. 10 years this summer. She's delight and a torment all in one. Don't worry, she sleeps in with me. She'll not disturb you. Good night now. You retire to your room. It is a little chilly, but you are too tired to worry about lighting the fire. The sheets are clean, and the bed soon warms up. The silence outside is strange after living in a town for so long, but you soon drop off. You dream.
Oh, not off the town.
You dream of fire in the grate, coruscating colours shimmering through the dancing tongues of flame. At first they are tiny, almost microscopic, but they grow and grow until a kaleidoscopic inferno spills from the fireplace, spreading across the floor, up the sheets. You wake with a start. Daylight glints through the curtains. You get up and examine the grate, blinking the sleep from your eyes. It is quite cold. If you have taken any damage, you may now heal 1 hit point back for your night's sleep.
Yay.
For you, Silas. May seems to have no running water, but is supplied some in a ceramic jug. You freshen up at the wash stand and go in. She cooks a hearty breakfast and leaves you in peace to eat. At about 7:30, you are paid up, packed, and ready to go. You bid May goodbye, and she wishes you the best for your new career in Arkham.
I get a feeling I'm not getting there, but thank you anyway.
You are already tired of your heavy bags. Hopefully, Silas has repaired the motor coach and you can resume your long journey. A sourpuss he might be, but the old driver seems to understand his vehicle well enough, if not where he's going with it. You pause to check your watch, still 20 minutes early, and round the final corner. The motor coach is gone. You put your bags down and search the area, trekking up and down slopes and around corners. At the edge of the village, you trace the long road back as it winds across hills. 8 o'clock comes and goes, there is no coach to be seen. A passing villager notices your bags. Looking for the bus? I heard him take off at first light. He's due back in 3 or 4 days. If you need a place to stay, May Ledbetter rents a room.
Ledbetter's, yep, I know.
The man raises his hat to you and strolls on into the village. You curse Silas under your breath. Perhaps you went for parts, but you wonder if the old goat has stranded you here on purpose. Why would he do such a thing? May is doing laundry and looks surprised to see you again. Forget something? When you explain the situation, she offers to store your bags while you try to arrange alternative transport. You are grateful to relinquish the load. Nobody here is anything like a car. She strokes her chin and narrows her eyes. Maybe you could find somebody with a horse and a cart for your bags. I could ask around later. Try Mr. Winters at the village hall. He'll know if anyone will. Or ask among the artisans. Their workshops are first left on Silbury Street. She reaches over and squeezes your wrist. Don't worry, I won't see you sleeping in the street, money or no money. You thank May and turn to face the village.
Thank you, May. Away!
Away to the village. You wander the streets of Emberhead without any particular destination in mind. The village is built on a relatively flat upland with splendid views. To the north, the hazy tips of the White Mountains reach for the heavens. To the south, the sparkling waters of Lake Winnipesaukee touch the horizon. The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. You arrived on a winding road to the west. The only other road leads to the south, following a lower ridge of land as it turns east. In the southwest of the village, an open grassy space borders a ruined church, its graveyard cresting the cliffs. To the northeast, the three main thoroughfares meet at a raised black metal structure. Its looms stark against the blue sky. You may now ask about transport at the local general store, peek out to the village hall, walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road, examine the large metal structure, explore the church, look for local people with their own transport needs.
Let's go to the town hall, because I remember that being a place that May suggested going to for transport.
The village hall backs against a cliff at the east end of Silbury Street. It's the largest building you've seen so far in Emberhead. It is, however, locked and shuttered. You walk around it, peering through gaps in the shutters. There seems to be one large room, presumably for community meetings, and a smaller annex that serves as an office and an archive. One of the windows is bricked up. Back at the main door, you can see no posted opening hours. Mr. Winners doesn't open up mornings this time of year, says a grey-garbed woman passing by. Let's come back this afternoon. You ask whether the office has a telegraph. Don't know, she shrugs. Who would we call? You'll have to try again later. You're beginning to get your bearings in Emberhead. Would you like to explore some more? So you can try up to 4 options from below, or if you decide to move on, you can decide to move on. So your options are: ask about transport at the local general store, walk down to the low level and check out the eastern road, examine the large metal structure, explore the church, or look for people with their own transport needs.
Let's go to the general store.
General store. The general store is on a corner beside the main road, just before it plunges to the south. The shopkeeper is a brisk, immense lady with a starched apron and strong shoulders. She looks hard at your unfamiliar face. Transport? There's a motor coach comes through twice a week. No, yeah, that's how we got here. Missed it? Truck brings in my supplies every second Tuesday, but he's not due until next week. She shrugs. It seems Emberhead is content to keep its distance from the outer world. Again, back to the options you have. You can now walk down to the lower level, check out the eastern road, examine the large metal structure, explore the church, or look for local people with their own needs. You have 2 more
Let's
options
look at
left.
the large metal structure.
You walk up the approach, the most central of the village's major streets. It points directly at the odd metal structure. As you emerge from the shade of the nearby buildings, you are greeted by a magnificent panorama spread from the north to the southeast. The last colours of fall tint the hills in a sleepy gold. The structure, by contrast, is made from uncompromising iron, singed black. I've got a picture of that as well.
A lot of pictures.
Yes, there's a lot of artwork in this book. Good.
That doesn't look promising.
It supports an immense curved platform at the level of your head. Further struts snake up to a central point. It looks like may have been some kind of sculpture at one time, but are now twisted and melted beyond recognition. An older gentleman pauses, looking at you with rheumy eyes. Are you here for the festival? He asks. That's the beacon. When they light it and out the next, you'll be able to see it 10 miles away. He gives it a little nod of satisfaction, then moves on, leaning on his walking stick. Now you notice bundles of wood tied and stacked against the buildings nearby. Perhaps this festival will be an interesting diversion, but you really must head to Arkham as soon as possible. Please make me a spot hidden roll.
Okay. No.
Again, back to the town square. One more option to go. Walk down to the lower level, explore the church, or look for people with their own transport needs.
Let's look for people with their own transport needs and then steal them.
Not far from the Ledbetter house, on the north side of Silbury Street, there is an open courtyard. The rhythmic tattoo of a hammer seems to announce your approach. The courtyard is the busiest location you have yet seen in Emberhead. It is bordered by a ring of workshops. Some are brick buildings, some only rough huts. A blacksmith ceases to hammer, thrusting something red and glowing into a bucket of cold water. A weaver looks up from his loom, blinking at you a moment before returning to his shuttle. A potter, engraver, and carpenter each work in their own space, exchanging friendly banter. You move among the artisans, chatting about their work. Eventually, you bring up the question of export. Some of them send occasional packages with silence. Some restrict their custom entirely to villagers. You receive no suggestions about alternative transport. Please make me a psychology roll. Something has to work. Come on, something has to.
I don't think it does. I don't think it does. And if it's gonna be, it's not psychology.
Obviously not. So you have had your 4 options. The day has moved on. Your morning exertions have left you hungry. You roam the streets of Emberhead looking for sustenance. There is nothing resembling the busy cafes of your hometown or anything that might be called a restaurant. It's beginning to look like you'll have to get supplies from the general store when May Ledbetter comes down the street with a girl trailing in her wake. This must be Ruth. As she notices you, she races past her mother and approaches you with a smile. This is a different Ruth from the shy creature last night. As she reaches you, she stops and stretches her arm up in celebration. She looks into your eyes. Abruptly, the smile drops from her face and she looks several years older. Get out before the festival, she hisses. Get out! She blinks hard, then scuttles back towards her mother.
I'm really trying.
May approaches, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulders. She smiles. How are you getting on? Have you found transport? Startled, you explain the frustrations of the situation.
No.
I'd try Mr. Winters in the village hall. He's always in at the afternoon. You'd be hungry by now. Help yourself to any food in the house. The door's not locked. You glance at Ruth, where she has squirreled herself behind her mother's legs. Her eyes implore you to silence. Do you wish to ask Ruth about what she said? Do you wish to ask May about what Ruth said? Or do you say nothing?
I will say nothing.
Hey.
I've seen this film before.
You take your leave of the Ledbetters and head towards their house. The door opens easily. In the low kitchen, you make a meal from stodgy bread and leftover stew. A little window offers a view to the mountains. If you learned one thing this morning, it was that Emberhead streets hold little to occupy the visitor from out of town. But there's still about 5 hours of daylight remaining. You could take some provisions and the bare essentials from your luggage and set out in the hope of reaching another settlement before dark. Or you could ask advice from this Mr. Winters.
I think we've got to try Mr. Winters at this point.
Village Hall. The village hall overlooks the lower north ridge of the village. You walk along Silbury Street to find it, conscious of the oppressive black metal structure framed at the end of the road. The shutters of the hall are open and some windows left ajar. There is no knocker, but a little bell over the entrance tinkles as you push the front door. Inside, a sturdy door to your right is marked private. To your left, an opening leads through to a bright room. You take a few steps inside. Benches line the walls, and there are 2 notice boards mounted between the windows. Do you wish to examine the notice boards, or do you wish to knock on the closed door?
Let's look at the notice boards first.
The floors creak beneath you as you cross the room. You feel a slight spring in your step. Perhaps this room is used as a gymnasium for the village children. One notice board appears to be for the adults of the community, and one for the children. The former looks neglected, featuring handwritten advertisements for household items and a yellowed note about telegraph pricing. There is nothing about the festival. Children's notice board has a schedule for weekly creche services and a number of paintings obviously done by the children themselves. Most are incoherent, though colourful. As best you can tell, they depict fireworks, or perhaps the tale of Joseph from the book of Genesis. One has lost a pin and hangs upside down. It shows a giant bird attacking Emberhead. Or it might simply be that the artist has yet mastered the subtlety of scale. Make me a spot hidden roll, please.
I believe you knew Carl Fisher.
No.
What? The door scrapes open behind you. A middle-aged, bespectacled gentleman appears in the doorway. May I help you? You explain you are visiting on May Ledbetter's recommendation. Ah, well, I'm Clyde Winters. I'm not sure I can help you, but would you care for some coffee? I'm partial to a cup in the afternoon. He gestures to the open door behind him. This seems like a worthwhile opportunity, and you are a little thirsty.
Well, I did just have leftover stew and bread, so...
Someone's got to wash it down. You step through the door marked private. The other side of the village hall is in marked contrast to the public space. The room is compact, lined with shelves of books and flower alcoves. One corner is reserved for a tiny pantry and what is presumably a water closet. You study Mr. Winters as he fills the percolator. Although thin on top, his hair is oiled and neatly swept back. His suit is a sober affair and well tailored, even if the cut is a little old-fashioned. A lesser man working alone might have loosened his bow tie for comfort. On the desk against the opposite wall, you notice what looks like a telegraph set. You can ask about the telegraph set immediately, or you can try to make small talk with Mr. Winters first.
Let's attempt making small talk. If it involves dice rolls, I don't think it's going to go well.
The pot begins to gurgle as you exchange pleasantries with Winters. Living here? It's a trade-off, like so much in life. He looks past at your high shelf. I could wish for access to a proper library, of course, but I know myself well enough. I'm strictly a dabbler, and the cities, his face wrinkles in distaste. Too many people, everybody rushing and shouting. We have a special place here in Emberhead, and someone must accept responsibility for keeping it so. That was my father before me, and now the duty falls to me. He lifts his chin and straightens up. This evening, as the sun sets, look out at the landscape around the village. We have peace up here, halfway to the stars. Are we not privileged? Is this not worth the hardships we must accept? He looks at you speculatively. This seems a good time to ask about the telegraph.
Do you have the telegraph machine there?
Telegraph? Much as we value our isolation, we do need the link sometimes. You are hoping to send a message? I must apologize. The line has been down for 2 weeks. I reported a fault, but of course, they're not so speedy when the problem lies in a rural area. I'm expecting a repair the day after next. I do appreciate how frustrating this must be. The coach is due in, 3 days? But I think he's going west. Perhaps you might engage a wagon. One of the farmers might... You explain you've asked a few of the residents already, but to no avail. I tell you what, Winters pours you a streaming cup of coffee. The dark liquid smells rich and strong. When the repair crew arrive, I'll ask him to take you back with them. How would that be? They might want $1 or $2 to grease the reels. The day after tomorrow? It's less than ideal, but it's the first real opportunity you've had. You can thank Winters and leave, or you can ask about his library.
Let's ask about the library.
You make a small...
What's in your library?
You make a small, but you ask him outright what's in his library. Winters blushes with treasure. Treasure with pleasure. Why did I say treasure? I'm watching Sea of Thieves earlier on. Winters blushes with pleasure. Well, of course, they're not my personal collection. They belong to the village, he says. But I did select most of the recent items. This is the community's library, you see. I put up the private sign to stop people just wandering in from meetings in the other room. But this really is a public space. You scan the shelves. There is a sparse but respectable collection on mathematics and the sciences, passable sections on history and arts, and a shelf of literature. He has a few lowbrow novels tucked away in a corner with chatty copies of Bizarre Tales magazine. Quality does not always equate to popularity, I'm afraid. Winters gives you an apologetic smile. Take the time to research, or do you wish to leave while it is still light outside?
Let's do some researching. I don't know what we're researching, but...
Winters is happy for you to spend the rest of the afternoon in study and offers you an upright but comfortable chair. You have enough time to pursue one line of research in depth. You can read about the history of the area, you can read about the festival, you can read something from the sciences, or you can read some of the weird fiction.
Let's read about the festival.
You are not surprised to find there is no published work on Emberhead's festival. Winters pokes around and finds a cased monograph handwritten on yellowing paper by Dr. Anielowski. An acquaintance of my father's, I believe, Winters says. The manuscript is somewhat difficult to read, and you make slow progress. Anilovsky speculates that the festival has its origin in pagan rites brought over by Celtic settlers, which celebrates the ancient festivals of Beltane, Samhain, Imbolc, and Lugnasad. There is some discussion of the struggle between the seasons, and there's a couple of oblique references to the alignment in Emberhead. Anilovsky suggests that the meaning of the festival slowly changed around the turn of the century. The monograph terminates mid-sentence at the end of page 28, just as it begins to discuss the modern practices. You ask Winters if he has the remaining pages. No, I'm afraid those have been misplaced, he says. Perhaps they are still in the library somewhere, but he shrugs. I must make the time for a thorough stocktake. The afternoon wears on. You have not quite finished your reading when Winters glances out the window and stands up. He clears his throat. Make a credit rating roll, please. Oh,
Nope.
What are the odds? Oh, I thought you'd succeeded at something, but yes. I'm afraid I have some errands to run before dark, so I must close the library for today. I do hope you will return tomorrow afternoon if you are so inclined. You leave the building with Winters, waiting as he locks up. You thank him for the coffee and the access to the library. He disappears off down an alley. You hope to be away from the village before tomorrow afternoon, but it's good to know that there is a place you can occupy yourself. As the light fades, you return to the Ledbetter house and eat a light supper. May is unusually taciturn. Ruth's eyes flick to yours several times during the meal. There is an urgency there you cannot quite interpret. Afterwards, May ushers the girl into her room. You've been in Emberhead for barely one whole day, and you already feel confined by it, both geographically and socially. The evening seems to offer little. Do you wish to do some stargazing, or do you wish to speak to Ruth?
I'm going to just quickly say, can we take a short break and I'll run and grab myself a drink, but then I'd like to speak to Ruth.
Of course. Let's run an ad break. Where's the ad break? Run a 1 minute ad break.
We'll run an ad break. Warning, adverts are louder than we can be if you are listening on headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful with that. We'll be back in a moment.
What was someone you enjoying about a really bored in the open store? Evidence of what? English. What else? Life is not a paperback, Mr. Morse. For a policeman with an 11% back to work, one in which the villain gets and the money, the one the hero. Conscience isn't a good property. I don't get it. Look for anything that ain't. Sweden pay all goods up. All I hear since that lorry load of Laura was knocked off this summer, I just fallen out. Maybe ain't business too. Someone's beating me to the week out. No, look. He's putting a squeeze on it. You can use it. I did kind of a quiet word last before we did that. Right. Don't want to do anything until it's Mr. Nero. Jason Mills. What's all? Time.
I've returned.
Yay! Ad break is over. And
Woo.
You wish to speak to Ruth.
I wish to speak to Ruth.
In time, May returns to the kitchen and busies herself clearing up. To speak to Ruth, you will need to get May to leave for a short while. You help with the dishes and try to think of some ruse. In time, an idea comes and you ask about Silas and his friends in the village. May narrows her eyes. He knows Troy on the other side of town, she says. Not sure I'd call them friends, more like an old feuding couple, but he's probably spent last night at Troy's place. You ask May if she could visit Troy and ask if Silas mentioned any plans to return. May looks dubious. Right now, she asks. You have a choice. You can either make a charm roll, a persuade roll, or a fast talk roll.
Hey, you think he's behind this telephone?
We're going to go with charm.
Yay.
There'd be a lot more blood on the streets if you did.
Yay!
Success!
Some more.
Woo! Well, I suppose it'll only take a few minutes. May fetches a coat and heads out into the night. You give her time to get clear, then rap on the bedroom door. Nothing comes but silence. And feet pad across the floor and the door opens a few inches. Ruth's eyes stare through the gap, glancing from left to right. You explain that her mother has left the house and ask what has been bothering her. Those eyes flick up to stare at you. It's tomorrow, she whispers. Same as every year. They took my dad. They'll take you if you let them. The conviction in her eyes is chilling. You press her. Who is she talking about? All of them. Every one. They've been watching since you got here. You're marked. Her voice is hollow. 1 year, when I'm older, they'll take me. You hear footsteps approaching from outside. Ruth's eyes flash and the bedroom door slams. You turn back to drying the dishes. May enters and removes her coat. That man is a waste of time, she hisses and heads through to the bedroom. Thoughts, opinions?
Is that a no?
The familiar surroundings of your guest room are becoming constrictive. The neat bed, small wardrobe, and dressing mirror have the feel of a prison cell about them. What are you still doing here in Emberhead? Your new life is elsewhere. You lie on the bed and stare at a small crack in the ceiling. You turn over the day's events, thinking through the little details you spotted. You are certainly weary from the elevation and the fresh air, but do you still feel safe here? If you let yourself fall, do you let yourself fall asleep or do you stay awake?
I'm going to let myself fall asleep.
Your eyelids are heavy, and whatever your reservations, blackness soon takes you. You dream again of fire in the grate, a small theatre of lights twinkling in a tiny drama. The flames seem to consume nothing, almost to hang in the air. A moment later they are around your sleeping form, filling the room with flickering colours. Blue, yellow, red, purple. They dance on and around you. The little tongues brush your flesh. You drift awake in the morning light. The sun is already high, but you do not feel well rested. You find yourself preoccupied with little details of the room. The wood grain of the door jamb, or a chipped handle on the wardrobe. As you swing out of bed, your stomach gives a lurch and you lean too far over, nearly tumbling to the floor. You blink for a moment. Perhaps you have an illness coming on. You get carefully to your feet. The air in the room is heavy and fragrant. You stare out the window and you feel steady enough to leave. Your skill rolls today suffer a penalty. Roll the 10% die twice and take the higher results. This does not apply to luck sound into your damage rolls. Awesome. You've got a penalty die.
That's helpful. I've sure been rolling well already.
The Ledbetter kitchen is empty, although bread and eggs have been laid out for your breakfast. There is a note from May explaining that she's taken Ruth out for a few hours. You make a quiet circuit of the village.
Well, it's sure nice knowing Ruth.
Yeah. You make a quiet circuit of the village, pausing in unobtrusive places to watch the villagers. It is rather busy for this time in the morning. Yawning locals stream back and forward along the roads, carrying bundles of split logs to the site of what you've heard referred to as the beacon. You see 2 figures already up in its superstructure arranged in the wood. The festival bonfire will be most impressive, but do you intend to stay to see it? You suspect by now that something is amiss here. What gave it away?
I suspect by now that I'm going to be in the bonfire, but you know.
While the villagers are distracted, you may do some illicit investigation, or you may simply leave town without looking back. Do you wish to search May Ledbetter's bedroom, go alone to the village hall, take a closer look at the artisan's courtyard, spy on activity at the beacon, or slip down the road and flee for good?
Let's have a look at May's bedroom. I ain't going to get far walking, so...
Despite her hospitality, you do not trust May Ledbetter. You return to her house quite openly. Where else would you go? Inside, the dwelling is still empty. You rap on the bedroom door and wait. Silence. You ease it open. The Ledbetter bedroom is in marked contrast to your own neat space. Dirty clothes are piled about the floor. On a rough quilt lie the schoolbooks and cheap novels. You notice a raggedy old doll discarded down the side of the bed. Make me a spot hidden roll.
Sure. And then I do this twice, don't I?
You hit the you press the bonus penalty button.
Okay. What does that mean?
That turns your result to an 86. That is a fail, I'm afraid.
Yay!
You go through the Ledbetter's drawers. The only item of interest you find is a wedding photograph. May's husband was a wiry man with a square chin. Despite the formality of the pose, you can see the affection between them. You feel a pang of guilt at your intrusion. Also, May might return at any time. If you wish to push the spot hidden roll, make it again.
Wait, I'm a wiry man with a square chin, apparently, according to my size. And squareness of my chin in the photo.
If you wish to, you may remake the spot hidden roll. Or if you'd rather
Let's
not do
give
that.
it another go, I guess.
No!
I mean...
Don't need to roll the penalty die for that one, because, yeah.
No, it got worse.
A shadow falls
It got
across
worse.
you. A shadow falls across you. So, May Ledbetter says, you know. You try to get to your feet.
No! I fucking don't!
A mob of villagers spills from behind you and surrounds you. You struggle, but you cannot resist the sheer weight of their numbers. You are quickly overpowered. The fading light...
Could you maybe tell me?
The fading light from a narrow window tells you afternoon is giving way to evening. Your hands are shackled behind your back, so you cannot even lie down on a rough bed. A woman you have not seen before comes in. Her face is wrinkled and her eyes dull. They do not meet yours, but she puts a cup to your lips. Do you accept the drink or do you reject it?
I mean, I'm going to try and reject it.
Okay. You turn your face away, and when she tries again, you dash the cup from her hands using the side of your head. The clear liquid spills across the floor. The woman gives a half shrug and turns to leave the room. You shout after her, but she gives no reaction. You soon become thirsty.
I regret throwing away that drink.
As light fades outside, your little prison becomes dark. You can hear much activity around the building. Occasionally, an orange glow passes the window. The only comfortable position in the shackles seems to be to sit against the end of the bed with your arms hanging behind you. You need to concentrate and come up with a plan. There is clearly no escape from your bonds. You do not know exactly what your captors want.
We've not even tried!
But you cannot ignore the fact that they have spent the entire day constructing a massive bonfire.
I'm not ignoring that fact either!
The door scrapes, wrenching you back into the moment. Orange light spills into the house from blazing torches held at its threshold. Two large villagers step in and grab you. At least you assume they are villagers. They wear heavy black cloaks, and their faces and hands are painted entirely black, save only for a red triangle centered on their left eye. You try to drag your legs, but they reach under your arms and lift you bodily from the bed. Outside, it seems that the whole village has congregated to see you. Every single one has a blackened face with the red triangle motif. Torches sputter and spill fire. You struggle, but you can see physical resistance is hopeless. You are marched to the central street and turn to face the beacon. The procession
I don't suppose I could educate my way out of this, could I?
The procession down the approach is slow and formal, save when you sense weakness and yank at your captors. A chill touches you when you see 3 human shapes carried ahead of you, draped in red cloth. The beacon looms larger and larger, its dreadful silhouette a black triangle pointing to the stars. A low drone begins among the cloaked figures. Unbidden, the word mourners comes to mind. Smoke from their torches makes you cough. You feel heat on your face. As you reach the cleared area around the beacon, 3 dancers break from the pack, young girls swinging balls of fire in spectacular arcs, drawing circles in the night air. One by one, they draw close to you and touch your forehead with sooty fingers. Each kisses you 3 times, on the left cheek, right cheek, and the forehead. Then they whisper in your ear. The smell of kerosene fills your nostrils. Make an appearance roll.
I don't suppose any of you fancy, like, monologuing a little.
Nice. I'm going to let you have that because it's a hard success. I'm still going to let you have it.
Cool!
Did I get the right? I don't know, I've just lost my place. I looked away at the wrong moment. And no, that's not 10, that's why it messed me up. The linking in this book has gone a bit awry. Through your sacrifice, the village will be reborn, says the first dancer. You pass from earth to air for all our sakes, says the second. I've weakened the chains, says the third. Don't try to escape until the flames are high enough to hide you. You stare at the third dancer. In that inky visage, you clearly discern the frightened features of Ruth Ledbetter. Their dance weaves off and disappears behind the buildings.
Thank you, dancer number 3.
As you arrive beneath the beacon, 10 villagers close in on you. Working with surprising coordination, they immobilize you and lift you up the blackened iron stairs to the raised platform. You cannot help but shiver at the sight of the central framework, twisted from past blazes, and what you can now clearly see to be fastening points for chain. None of the eyes meet yours as they lash you to the metal. The village sings now, something rhythmic and ancient, carved from old syllables. A second group ascends to the beacon, carrying the 3 red-draped bodies. With reverence, they arrange their burdens in a triangle around your feet. Then they withdraw, leaving you alone with the dead, shin deep in a sea of kindling. It seems the entire village is gathered around the beacon to watch you burn. Behind the face paint, you recognise May Ledbetter and... guess who stood next to her?
Silas, I'm gonna guess.
Yes, that is Silas the coach driver standing at her side. The audacity and scale of the deception staggers you. A man steps
Fuck you, Silas.
A man steps up on a dais and raises his hands with quiet authority. The frames of his spectacles obscure the red triangle on his face. So we draw here together again on this night, as we do each year, and we give thanks to the one who will preserve the village against the fire of the void. You will be taken by the ones from above in our stead. Your death will bring life to our streets and bounty to our fields. It will safeguard our children and our elders alike for another year. We salute you. He bows his head. All around the beacon, bearers step forward and lift their torches to the edge of the raised platform. A ring of tiny flames flicker up around the perimeter. As they wink, the singing of the villagers drops into an unearthly rhythm. Do you wish to throw all your remaining strength against the bonds, or do you wish to wait and see what happens?
I mean, does the fire seem high enough yet to mask my escape, should, I manage to make a last-minute daring escape? Maybe, like, swing out on a whip as the theme tune flares into dramatic elegance. If we could get John Williams on it.
It is up to you. It is up to you. Do you wish to risk it, or do you wish to wait and see what happens?
I mean, I feel if the fire's just starting, we're gonna hold.
Okay.
And hope that I get a second attempt to do this in a minute. Otherwise, this is going to go badly.
The flames snake across the kindling, catching and rising. Smoke rises and it becomes difficult to see the villagers. The 3 bodies surrounding you catch fire, blazing with sooty red flames. You begin to cough as the smoke enters your lungs and fight down the urge to panic. Flames lick at your legs, your eyes water, you are shrouded in smoke. It might be amid your imagination, but you think you can feel a slight give in the chains. You throw yourself against them, giving no thought how they bite into your wrists. Take 1d6 points of damage from the fire.
This is going to go well. Yep, watch as I roll
Yep.
a 6.
Yep. It is not 0, so you are still alive. Make me a strength roll.
Success.
Desperation lends you strength, and you yank at what you guess to be the weak point in the chain. It breaks. You throw the chain off, stumbling across one of the red-shrouded corpses, heading away from the watching villagers. You cough. Your hair and eyebrows smoulder. You leap from the conflagration on the far side of the beacon. Your heart lurches momentarily at the sight of the sheer drop beneath you, but you land a few inches short of the edge. You roll to extinguish your burning clothes. Your lungs feel singed. Everything hurts. The chant of the village gathers in intensity. You peer around at the beacon. They don't seem to have noticed your absence amidst the billowing smoke. Most of them are staring into the sky. You crawl as rapidly as you can for the cover of the nearest building. With the villagers assembled at the beacon, streets are empty and you are able to pad away from the blaze. You must get out of town before they finish. The chanting seems to accelerate as you round the corner of the southern road. Here, parked against the side of the general store, you find your first piece of luck since reaching Emberhead. A bicycle. You learn to ride one of these in Manitoba. You settle into the saddle. Your burned flesh protests at the contact. Do you wish to wait and observe goings on at the beacon, or do you wish to get the hell out of Dodge?
No, we're leaving.
Hey. It takes a moment to recapture the skill of riding a bicycle, but after the first turn to the east, there is a long downhill out of Emberhead. You hear screams and crackles above you, but concentrate on balancing and working the pedals in your weakened state. You've had too many hopes dashed in this abomination of a village. You keep your head down and ride away.
I feel like this bicycle riding is like the Indiana Jones theme, but played on a kazoo.
20 minutes later, it's the Ride of the Valkyries on a kazoo. It's the Ride of the Valkyries on the Sea of Thieves instrument. 20 minutes later, with no sign of pursuit, you stop for a breather at the top of a hill. You can see Emberhead rise in the distance. The entire village appears to be ablaze. The dark column of smoke above it will be visible for many miles. But if the village is as isolated as it seems, help is unlikely to arrive in time. You watch the place burn for 5 minutes, then you mount a bicycle again and ride towards civilization and dawn. Congratulations, you have survived this adventure.
Ow!
Barely.
Badly burned.
Barely. Would you like to try some other paths not taken?
No.
You
know me.
No, I think that's a good finishing point for Manitoba Jones, who's going to go on and have a long, daring career as a burnt archaeology professor.
Yep.
And maybe eventually lead to people who go off into the stars and ancestor to Gunter D. Parker, who carries on the fine tradition of getting horribly burnt in fires.
Oh. So, other than the fact that nearly every single roll failed on you, how did you find that?
I mean, other than the fact that nearly every single roll failed and I learnt literally nothing until May showed up and said, so you know. And I went,
No.
No! No, I don't! Could one of you maybe tell me? Okay, no, you're just going to lock me up all day. Cool. I think that went pretty well for how Cthulhu tends to go.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that definitely caught the experience.
A man of property.
I can read off some of the other bits that we didn't take.
Didn't Jane Austen have some?
Had you taken the options and had your rolls gone well, you would have encountered someone with a burnt half of his face, who explains to
Okay.
you what is going on. In fact, I might just do that just to fill in a bit of the backstory, since Manitoba Jones knows nothing. Jon Snow. Let me just find a thing for it. Bear with me one moment. Oh, that's not the right one. I'm just trying to find the actual paragraphs where it tells you certain things about the festival.
What?
So festival.
Probably wasn't for my birthday. Found it.
Here we go. So, if you'd gone a different way, you would have met with someone called Arbogast. And this is one of the things. Arbogast fixes you with a lopsided yet intense stare. You seek me out, eh? He looks up at the cave ceiling. Which one of them told you about me? Never mind, it don't matter. Truth is, they fear what I know. They'd never come at me direct. Don't want to end up like old Arbogast, he giggles. The high-pitched sound is all the more grotesque coming from those bloated lips. Then abruptly his gaze turns to iron. Emberhead died 40 years ago, shattered by flame, consumed by the stars themselves. The ancient hill was cleansed by inferno. And from blackened ground came new life, as is the way of all things. The Abenaki knew. Arbogast wipes his nose in his sleeve. Except none of that happened. The flames were turned away, the necessary death postponed a year and a year again. And now those up there, he stabs a scrawny finger at the ceiling, think themselves saved of the village, think they can defy the great old ones. Ea, Cthulhu. He shakes his head. With strange aeons, their lives matter less than the blink of an eye. The fierce intelligence burns in his gaze, but she suspects Arbogast may be quite insane. It is mute, and then later on, he points to the thing. And then there's a bit later on where you go back to meet him, and he teaches you an incantation to stop the cycle. But
Right.
he makes note that, do not use this chant if you have any plans for life left on Earth.
Well, that's nice.
And if you were to use the chant, the swirling tongues of fire, this is when you would use the chant while you're strapped to the beacon being burned to death. The swirling tongues of fire around you stop in midair. The people around the beacon freeze, their black painted faces bleached and stripped, as a second sun opens in the air above Emberhead. In an instant, the people, the village, the hill, all are consumed, incinerated by impossible proximity to sheer combustion, the essence of fire. Though your body is bound to the beacon, your spirit, your being is freed. As a spark, you race into space, catapulted through the vastness of the void. The stars burn past you with incomprehensible velocity, and then you are home. Forever you will dwell here at Formerholt, where the flames ripple and flow through immense spaces to the ribbons of the universe, where planets themselves move and tilt through unutterable wheels of fire, bound to the clockwork chaos of the living flame. And among the flames, you will dance. You have single-handedly destroyed a section of New Hampshire about 16 miles in diameter. This also killed you.
I mean, if you're at the ground zero of that, yes.
So yeah, sometimes in Cthulhu it's better not to know what's going on.
I mean, you're not wrong. That is very much a Cthulian thing of sometimes it's better to just get the out.
Shall we call a halt to it there? We've been through an adventure, unless you want to take Manitoba Jones on another adventure.
No, I think that's a good place to wrap up for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess all that remains is I'm going to take over from Jeff now, because this is the bit that I usually do anyway.
Is the credits running is the question. Let's try it.
Give it a go. I don't remember how far they go.
Yeah, we got something. We have
There's
something.
some there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you haven't done so already, please do hit that follow button. It's a great way for you guys to know when we go live in a completely free way that you can support us on the channel. We've got the following streams coming up. On Sunday night, we are going to be starting a brand new D&D adventure in the form of Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I say brand new in that it's the continuation of Waterdeep Dragon Heist, but not only have we got some returning characters from Waterdeep Dragon Heist coming into this campaign, we've also got some brand new players who aren't brand new to D&D, but are brand new to playing D&D with us. And they're going to be playing some fun and interesting new characters that we're looking very much forward to showing off to you guys. So tune in for that Sunday evening. On Monday, given some of the recent events in Commander Shepard's life, he has decided he wants to go get his waifu. It's time to go and recruit the girlfriend. We're going to get Tali.
Tali.
We're going to get best girl.
Can't
And
argue
then
with that.
also continue the loyalty mission extravaganza that is Mass Effect 2. We've also now got the mission to go get Legion, and I feel that he and Tali need to get along. So there might be a double recruitment on Monday night. I don't know what we're doing Tuesday at the moment.
We've kind of run out of tall tales.
We've run out of tall tales. If we don't get something else in, maybe Valheim a little? Watch this space. On Wednesday night, I'd like to look at Gartic Phone, which is an interesting drawing-based game where you
someone has a phrase, they have to draw that phrase.
You attempt to draw a scene, and then other people have to describe your scene.
Is it like cross between narrative telephone and Pictionary?
Yes. I have also found out there is a mode in it. I believe there's a mode in it you can play. There is a mode that we can play where we just draw an animation.
Interesting.
And literally, you all draw one frame of an animation, having only seen the previous frame.
Interesting. That could be. That could go places.
So we'll experiment with Gartic Phone on Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll see who's around for it.
Mm-hmm.
On Thursday, Angel's going to be continuing through BioShock. And then Friday next week.
We'll see if we can come. Our Fridays have suddenly become somewhat unbusy after the recent conclusion of one of our other campaigns. So
we'll work on that one as well.
We'll work on it.
But tune in for whatever there is there. There'll be something there, probably.
Even if it's just John staring at a camera for 2 hours, there'll be something there.
Don't tempt me. You never know.
John, who should we raid? Who should we throw our raid to?
Oh, that's a very good question. Who's around?
I'm partial to Cad's EH, who is currently playing Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah, that sounds a good plan.
Let us go to him. Raid is about to go. So, thank you all very much for watching, and good night and pleasant dreams.
Bye.
Bye. Readers away.